Okay, we've now made a new problem, and we've decided that our best strategy is strategy 3. Now, what the heck is strategy 3, right? Yeah, you've been wondering that for a while. So let's come up here. So let's look at how we load a strategy and look at what strategy number 3 is. So we're going to come up here to P1 and enter 3 in that yellow box. And then we haven't done it yet. We have to hit this load strategy from button. Boom. Now, what the spreadsheet has done is it went back over here in these locked up tabs that you can't see or do anything with, and went and got strategy 3. It grabbed it and it put it in here. And so now it's loaded strategy 3. So let's see what the nuts and bolts of strategy 3 actually is. Whoa, look at this. Man, we got some coding up here. All right. So what does this mean? So our strategy, again, is going to be what actually are we doing when we see the other dealer's orders, okay, and maybe even some other information that's going on out here. So what's actually happened? What's my cumulative inventory? We can take into some of those pieces of information too, okay? So for example, our bid, all right, so what price do we actually submit our bid at? Well, if K4 is less than or equal to 6 cents. All right, so what's K4? The other spread. In other words, if the other dealer is setting up their spread less than or equal to 6 cents, all right, so a fairly narrow spread, then we're going to take G4. So what's G4? We're going to take his price or her price, and we're going to add 1 penny to it. All right, so stop and think. This is a bid. If we take their bid price and add a penny, is that more or less aggressive? So if a sell order comes in, whose bid is going to get taken up first? Mine or the other dealer's? Well, since my price is at $46.79, because I'm going to be 1 penny higher than hers, okay? That means if you're selling, you're going to get $46.79 from me or $46.78 from him. Which would you rather? Well, of course, you'd rather $46.79. You want that extra penny. So I'm going to be the one that gets an incoming sell order, all right, because since we're talking about the bid. So what we've told our trading logic is if the other dealer sets a narrow spread, we're going to try and beat them by just a penny, all right? If, on the other hand, if it's not this, then what we're going to do is set our price at L4, so the midpoint, minus 2 cents, okay? So if you stop and think about, so the midpoint minus 3 cents would be where this other dealer is setting their price at right now. So what we're saying is that whenever the spread gets wide, we're actually going to give up a little bit, all right? So we're not going to try and just barely beat this guy. We're actually going to be way inside the quote relative to the other dealer. That's our pricing strategy. So when we talk about pricing strategies, so these my ask price and my bid price, the logic, the code that we put in here describes our pricing strategy. Now, over here, our depth strategy, right now you can see I4. Well, so whatever the depth is that the other dealer puts in, that's what we're going to do. So we're basically going to mimic whatever this other dealer does and then just try and undercut them all the time. All right? And you'll notice when we come over here and look at the receiving dealer, it's always me. Why? Because I'm always undercutting that other dealer. So as trades come in, it doesn't matter what they are, I'm always stealing it. I'm an aggressive dealer. Okay? Let's change that. Let's decide, you know what? Instead of always just beating them by a penny when it's narrow and then we're going to leave some on the table, let's see if we can do a little bit better than that. All right? So in this if statement, we're saying, well, let's let let's let our price be that. Well, let's actually take out the if statement, and let's just say we're just always going to beat them by a penny. Why? Well, hopefully we're going to catch a little bit better price whenever the spread gets wide. So on the ask side, you can see the opposite logic. So we're actually going to take their asking price and we're going to subtract a penny, right? Because that's the more aggressive price. So what we're going to do is we're just going to change the strategy. We're going to get rid of this if statement. And so now our pricing strategy is going to be still aggressive, but we're going to try and leave less on the table. And so what we're going to do is we're going to copy that all the way down through all these cells. All right. You can see now, so we've revised our strategy. Okay. What we're going to need to do is save this as a new strategy. We're going to save it as strategy 15. But before we click save strategy to 15, we're going to come down here and describe it. So basically what we could do is say, if spread is less than 6 cents, better it by 1 penny. If it's spread 4, then if the spread equals 4 cents, then we're just going to undercut, right? So this is basically number 3, but instead of this if statement, we're just always going to say better by a penny. We don't care what the spread is. We're going to match the depth, all full, no inventory management, okay? So that's what we're going to call this. And then we're going to save this strategy to number 15. So what you'll see is now, if we come down here, we're going to see strategy number 15 is basically strategy number 3, but we've done this slight pricing strategy change, okay? Now we don't have to rerun all of the problems. We could if we wanted to, but we could just change this so that now we're just going to run strategy number 15 for problem number 1. Hit the go button, and let's see how we did. Hey, that's a good sign, all right? So now look, for this particular environment, we actually have done a little bit better. Our old strategy 3 had a utility of 71.2. With this revision, now we've obtained a utility, an average utility over all those simulations of 90.3, all right? So we've done one better. So you can see there's all kinds of different kind of language in here. Inventory management and price, cutoffs, inventory management and execution cutoffs. So I would encourage you to go through and just kind of look, and you don't have to study it too detailed, but load each strategy and look at, so what does it mean? So strategy number 10, I just kind of picked one. So strategy number 10 says inventory management and execution, all right? So what that means is we're going to come over here and, look on this full versus quoted. You can see there's a lot of logic that's in here to decide whether we're going to submit the quoted or the full. All right. So we're going to use whatever the order type was. All right. So we get to kind of look and see what the incoming order is. Now remember, this is the dealer's privilege. All right. So they don't always get this privilege, and over time this has changed. But in this simulation, we're going to assume that they have the ability to see the incoming order and then decide what our order submission strategy is going to look like. Okay. So that's using execution to manage our inventory. So now let's look at strategy 9. All right. So this is actually using cutoffs. All right. So if X3 is greater than 40, well, what's X3? Well, here's an example of where we're actually going to use our inventory over here in column X and use that to drive what we do. Why would we do that? Well, imagine our inventory starts to get way, way, way too big. So we took this big incoming sell order. So now our inventory is really high. Well, our trading logic is going to say, hey, if this gets above 40, right, then I'm going to change my bid depth to 1. Well, why is that? Well, if I have 44 shares there, do I want to buy more inventory or do I want to start selling inventory? I want to sell, right? Well, I can't just say I'm not going to buy today. That's not okay. In a lot of cases, exchanges prevent dealers from just packing up and saying I'm not going to trade. What they do make them do is post some type of bid, but they can make it really, really unreasonable. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're only going to change the amount that we're going to buy. Okay. And since our inventory went over some threshold, and our threshold in this case we can see is 40, right? Then we're going to make our bid depth 1. If X8 is less than negative 40, so in other words, we're in a really negative sell position, okay? So we've sold a lot of inventory, all right? Then we're going to really increase our bid depth. So let's say we're actually way in the hole. Instead of just saying 15, which is what both of these strategies are going to default to, we're going to actually increase our bid depth really large to make up the difference. Now you can see when that happens on the sell side, so we're mirroring the same logic over here on our ask depth. So when my bid depth drops to 1, my ask depth increases to 40. So I'm going to try and actually sell a bunch of shares, okay? And you can see that eventually that's going to change. So I'm able to actually get rid of some inventory here in these upcoming periods. All right. So a buyer comes in. All right. I'm able to actually sell 10 shares, it looks like. Okay. And I'm able to drop my inventory. Okay. All right. So let's recap real quick. So the two things we've learned here. 1, how to create a new problem and enter it into the spreadsheet. We can test that. The second thing is how to create a new strategy, save it, and then test that. So what I want you to do now, as your entry ticket into class this next time, I want you to take these 10 problems, I'm going to leave them here for a second while I'm talking, and I want you to take the original 14 strategies that we have. All right, so the original 14 strategies are these 14 strategies. And I want you to test to see what's the best strategy for these 10 problems. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick kind of at random, so maybe I'll pick 2, maybe I'll pick 6, maybe I'll pick 9, and I'm going to ask you, what's the best strategy of the 14 preloaded strategies for those 3 problems? That's what your entry ticket is going to be. So I'll give you a quick 3-question multiple choice test that says, all right, given the 10 problems that you did outside of class, which are the 3, which is the best strategy for these 3 problems? All right, I may not pick these 3 problems, but you get what I'm saying. So you're going to have to know, and you're going to have to test at least what's the best strategy for those problems. So you're going to have to enter some new problems into here, test, and see what are the best strategies for those 10 problems. All right. Now, once we get into class, there's the problems again. Once we get into class, we're going to start playing with these 10 problems and say, all right, so can we do any better for some of these? All right. That's where we're going to go from here. Feel free to email me if you got any questions.